Hey there guys, it's Clement, your anime loving coder, and I'm here to teach you guys how to check for duplicates in JavaScript. So I'm just gonna do this really quickly. The video is gonna be like about 5 minutes or so. I hope, gosh. Okay, so basically the scenario is this: we have an array, and we want to be able to detect for duplicates from objects in the JavaScript array. So that's basically the uh, mission for this video. It's as simple as this. So let's say I have an array that looks like this. Let's array, or let me use const. Can never make up my mind. Array is equal to. I just pasted something from somewhere. I got it from JSON placeholder. You can actually use whatever data, it doesn't really matter. But basically, in this data set, we want to check for duplicate user IDs. Like if we scroll down through this sort of short array, we can see that the first object here has a user ID of 1, second one has a user ID of 2, 3, 4. We have another 4 here. Ooh, that is not good. We want it to all be unique. Then we have 5. We have 3 5s here. Crazy. So yeah, so basically we want to remove every form of duplicates from this. So we're gonna be using a little technique called hash tables or hash maps or whatever you want to call it. So it's really easy to implement. So the first step is we want to create our, or let me just use the word initialize our hash map, and we just call this um, const user hash map is equal to, we initialize this as an empty object. This will make sense. Basically, we want to keep a record of user IDs as a map. Then we want to always keep on checking for if the user ID already exists. If it already exists, we will filter it from the array. That will make sense in a couple of seconds. Let me just write the code. So let me just minimize this. I think that's the wise thing to do. Does this work? For some reason it's not minimizing. Well, who cares? So basically I want to go ahead with the operation now. We've initialized our hash map. So I want to go ahead with the filter operation, and I can just say array is equal to array. I want to initialize the array. So I think yeah, I think this will work. It's equal to array dot filter. And what am I filtering? What's going to be in here is the individual object. I'm just say the item in this case, and the index. I don't think we're going to use the index, so I'll just put an underscore. It's a syntax for arguments we don't really use. So I use the ES6 arrow function syntax. You can use the ES5 or whatever you want to use. So yeah, so what do we want to do in this filter? First of all, we want to check if the item with a similar user ID already exists. So yes. So how do we do that? We just say user hash map, right? Or let's initialize it. Initialize a variable called let already exists equals to user hash map dot whatchamacallit has own property. We want to check if this user hash map has a key using the has own property function. Already has a key called item dot user ID. So basically our user hash map is going to look like this. Let me just put this underneath the user hash map. It's going to be something like this. It's going to be the user ID, let's say 1, for example, and we're going to just initialize it with a true or whatever. Then you're going to have 2, initialize it with a true, give it a value of true, right? So this is how we want to construct our map. And if 2 already exists from our individual item in the array, it will simply filter out that duplicate, if that makes sense. So basically, user hashmap, it has a property if it already has its own property of item get user ID. This should be a boolean value. It should be true if it already exists in the hash map, and false if it doesn't. So that's just the simple part of it. So we then do in the filter function. It's at the end of whatever you're doing in the filter function, you either return true or false. You return true, you keep the item that is in the current iteration stage, and if you return false, you discard of the item. That's how the filter operation works. You can check more on the JavaScript documentation. So yeah, so once we return something, and we're going to use a coronary operator here and say if it already exists, that's if the item already exists in the array, we want to return false. And else, we want to set the user hash map, right? And set the key of item.user ID, right? I'm going to set it to true. So this is just it doesn't have to be true, it can be anything really, it can be 1, it can be 2, we just want to initialize it. And this initialization actually returns true. It's weird using the syntax, but yeah, it actually returns the opposite of false, which is true, this particular initialization. If this is confusing, we can do it in a different way. We can say if it already exists, something like this, if already exists, want to set this, right, to 1, then at the bottom we want to return true here instead. It's the same thing, just that what I did initially was the shortest syntax, so I'll just stick with that. With this syntax, this is a lot shorter and does exactly the same thing. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Then let's just console.log array. So what do we expect? We expect it to go through 1, 2, 3, 4. It sees a 4 again, it filters it out. 5 keeps it, sees a 5, filters it out, sees another 5, and filters it out. So that should be the result of our little function we have here. So let's test this out. Oh, I have an error, as I thought I would. Yes, basically, I'm glad I got this error. This array is already a constant variable. We cannot reassign it to another array because it already has a space in memory. So that was my bad. Changes to let, but I'm glad you saw that error. So go again. Yes, and we have it according to plan. And just increase. You see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we've successfully filtered out the other duplicates in the array. We can really go crazy with this algorithm. We can, in our if block, if already exists, we can do whatever we want to with this array. We can add a counter to count the amount of duplicates. We can do whatever we want to do. It's really the ball's in the court. But I'm going to leave this simplified like this. And yeah, that's the end of the algorithm. Really simple. How many lines? Like maybe 5 lines of code, excluding the array length. Really straightforward. So that's the end of the video. If you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe. Thank you very much.